If you would like to support the podcast and get some extra content while you're there, head on over to patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast and sign up. From the rewatch to the Q&A, we will have loads of content every week. So sign up, patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast. And now, here's the podcast.
Graeme McDonald is an idiot.
Sean Sheehan of SevereMMA.com. He even has the audacity to call himself the quote-unquote pod god.
This is SevereMMA.
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 The SevereMMA podcast is finally here.
Welcome to the SevereMMA podcast. Here's your host, Sean Sheehan.
Welcome everybody. We are back with another edition of the SevereMMA podcast, and today it is everyone's favourite episode of the year. It is the 20 bold predictions, where we look back at my 20 bold predictions for last year, see how unbelievably well they did, and I will announce my 20 bold predictions for next year as well. I've been doing this now for, 6 or 7 years, and it's a bit of crack, it's a bit of fun, so nothing serious, nothing mad on this podcast today, and we will get into all of that here in 1 second. But let me tell you first that this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Manscaped, and whether it's for the friend in your pants or your friends themselves, you can make the season to be jolly with Manscaped. Do your little drummer boy a favour and use the Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night. Then add in Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products to have the people thinking, all I want for Christmas is you. Look nice when you get naughty by going to manscaped.com and using the promo code SevereMMA for free shipping and 20% off. The Manscaped Platinum Package 4.0 is the one-stop shop for absolutely everything you need. It has each of the products from the Performance Package plus the Ultra Premium Body Wash, Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo and Conditioner, which I absolutely love, and the Ultra Premium Deodorant as well. It's the best way to smell fresh from your Santa hat to your candy cane. So it has the Lawnmower 4.0 for shaving the old pubes. It has the ear whacker for the nose and the ears, with both of them with the proprietary skin safe technology. Plus they're waterproof as well, so you can clear them out. With the 4000K LED light, so you can light the way for Rudolph. But once that is done, make sure you're smelling good as well with all the Platinum Package shower products that I mentioned above. They're all sulfate-free, vegan, and made to have your skin feeling hydrated and smelling better. Then you can use a crop preserver and crop reviver ball toner to keep the stank away all day long. Once they touch your sack, you'll never go back. I've been a fan of them for years now. They're absolutely brilliant. The Platinum Package 4.0 sitting under the tree is guaranteed to put anyone in the holiday spirit. And for the perfect stocking stuffer, add in the brand new Body Buffer, an incredible body scrubber that makes exfoliating easy and a lot cleaner than the old loofah. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code SevereMMA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using the code SevereMMA. Manscaped, get your balls ready for the holidays. Right, Graeme? Let's get straight into it. We're going to look back at my bold predictions for this year first, argue a bit about them, and then look ahead to the next ones.
Yeah, it looks like I might need to try anyway to be charitable this year.
Yes.
I haven't looked at them all. I just opened it there. God, we'll go through it anyway.
You got through it. You've never been charitable before, but I would appreciate a bit of this giving holiday season. I need a bit of charity.
I'll try it. It's not really me, but
it's not me, to be honest. That's fair. Okay, we'll start it off. So my first prediction for this year was Jon Jones returns in a UFC heavyweight title fight and loses. So obviously that didn't happen. I thought Francis would be around, he was going to fight Cyril Gagné, but then I thought Jones would come back eventually. And I think my thoughts about Jones coming back are kind of right in terms of he's gone to a new gym. He wanted to prove a point. It looks like Jon Jones has been trying to fight for the last 3 or 4 months, and they can't get the two fights they want, either Francis or Stipe. So I was a little bit unfortunate. I'm not looking for a point or anything for this, but you saw where I was going with this one, Graeme, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, that's why it's a bold prediction with Jon Jones.
That's true.
Getting him in the cage has been a big problem, and through his own fault for most of the years. But it seems now, as you said, that he's kind of trying to get going, and circumstances or the UFC not wanting to put him in just a warm-up fight has held him back. Like, I'd like to see him come back in a warm-up fight. It wouldn't have helped your bold prediction about him returning in a UFC title fight and losing, but yeah, I'm surprised he didn't come back at all. And if he did come back, you probably would have been, he would have probably been straight into the title shot. Would he have lost? I don't know. Yeah, I suppose that's why it's a bold prediction. Jon Jones is a unpredictable man.
He is an unpredictable man, and I'm not sure. Actually, you know what? I wrote my bold predictions for next year, like maybe a month ago. And before we even recorded here, I haven't gone back and looked at them. So the bold predictions for next year are actually probably going to be a bit of a shock to me as well. But like last year, we edited them as we went. So we will do that as well for the second part. So I might have something about Jon Jones there. But hopefully Jon Jones will be back for next year, and it's an awful pity. I know we did the awards show on Jon Jones. I don't know if it'll be out before or after this, but anyway, Jon Jones got a vote, for what was it? The biggest disappointment of the year, or whatever it was, just because he didn't fight, and that's a pity, because a lot of people came into MMA during either the McGregor era or during the pandemic era, and a lot of those folks have never even seen Jon Jones fight and don't really know how good he is or how special he is or how fun it was to watch a big Jon Jones fight. And that is kind of a pity. Now, will he come back and look the same and all of that? I don't know, but I kind of want to see it. So even with all the drug things and all the, all the controversies behind him, I think most fans who've been watching MMA for 10 or 15 or 20 years want to see Jon Jones again, and I hope he comes back here in 2023. Isn't it mad that we're in 2023?
Yeah, it's crazy how long Jones has been out. If he'd been out doing movies or making big money somewhere else, you'd kind of understand it. But these are vital years in a short career, and it's just a real waste. What a talent that guy was. He came in, he was destroying everybody. He went into the title shot, absolutely destroyed Shogun, and he thought the sky's the limit. And I think even people said at the time, the only man who's going to stop Jon Jones is Jon Jones. And, it seems that's
kind of right, isn't it? Fairness.
Yeah, he's good enough, I think, still, his talent and his natural abilities and his fight IQ, and even though he maybe doesn't use his fight IQ until he absolutely needs to, he fights kind of in the opposition's fight, but just the amount of talent he has, it is taking away the outside of the cage stuff and just looking at his career from inside the cage, what a promising start, middle, and hopefully he can rekindle it, because it would be terrible if it really ended like this for such a ridiculous talent. He may be the best talent we've ever seen in the UFC, really.
Yeah, he's up there himself and Demetrius and Anderson, but yeah, he's definitely up there. I just want to see him come back. I want to see what he can do. So,
but actual talent, if he put in the actual work that Demetrius Johnson was putting in, true. Imagine.
Probably. That's probably true. The best natural talent ever. Yeah, that's hard to argue with that one, to be fair. Right, let's move on to number 2. I predicted Magomedov would win the Bellator bantamweight tournament, and he did. The weird thing about this is the Bellator bantamweight tournament isn't even over. So even if he had been in the final, I think I even
said that. I said on a tournament, tournaments always injuries get delayed. That's coming back to me now. I'd have to go back and listen, but I vaguely remember even warning you about that. Yeah.
Anyway, it didn't matter. He lost to Patchy Mix. He lost to Rafi and Stotts as well at the end of last year. Was that before? I think that was probably before the tournament. But he was in the semi-finals there a couple of weeks ago and ended up losing. So he is one of those lads that maybe has maybe underachieved from where a lot of people thought he would go, myself included, having beaten Peter Yan back in the day and stuff, and obviously lost him the second time. But yeah, his wrestling and how unbelievable his wrestling is doesn't seem to have completely translated. Stotts was able to stop it. Patchy Mix was able to obviously choke him out and kind of played into his wrestling game a little bit. So yeah, maybe Magomedov is one of those guys, who was it? Kevin Holland a few years ago. I was like, oh, Kevin Holland's going to be champion, and then I was like, no, Sean, you're badly wrong on that one. I get a good bit right, but sometimes I'm badly wrong. And Magomedov definitely has a big ability, but it feels like in modern MMA and in the bantamweight division, which is fantastic in UFC, Bellator and beyond, it's not easy to compete at the very, very top level, and he's seen that this year. So right, we leave that one there. The next one though, Graeme, Jamal Hill wins the UFC light heavyweight title. Now, when I made this prediction, it was an extremely bold prediction, And I remember saying it, the two of us said it at the time, and loads of people were like, oh, what are you talking about? And then he knocked out Johnny Walker in like 2 or 3 minutes in February, so like 2 or 3 weeks later. And everyone was saying, oh, that's not a bold prediction, because I remember I tweeted it again. And I remember we were talking about it at the time. It turned from like a bold prediction to one that people were like, oh, maybe it's not. No, okay, it hasn't happened, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry to stop your victory lap here, but...
Jamal Hill is in a title shot. He does have a title fight as we end this. So he's Schrodinger's champion, I think, at the moment. So like he could be the champion right now. There's no other champion. He has half the belt now. So
I can't be that charitable. That's ridiculous.
No, can I even get quarter of a fight for that one?
No. You're lucky you can't do a title shot, so you'd say some face. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. I don't know if one of my predictions for next year is again that he wins, and I'll have to look at that. But sure, that prediction I haven't written it a few weeks ago is probably already not a bold prediction considering he's in it if it is there. But
that's the thing. If it comes to fruition, people are like, "Wow, well, obviously, like this is a year later." If it doesn't, you're like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" Right? That was never going to happen.
We made that exact point last year. It's funny how quickly things turn. Like the Paddy Pimblett one is another one this year. It's like, or in the last couple of weeks there, like. I was on Submission Radio talking about it and on the podcast, and people are like saying, what are you talking about? Why are you so negative about this guy? He's a good up-and-comer and all. Next thing he has the Jared Gordon fight and everyone's like, we always knew Paddy was shy. Like, well, you fucking did not. No, you didn't. Like, it was very few people actually said it, but yeah, MMA turns very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. And it did for number 4 as well. So my prediction was Kayla Harrison signs with the UFC and wins the title vacated by Amanda Nunes. Now,
jeez, that was a big bold prediction there. There was a lot of moving pieces.
Very, very bold prediction. They were teammates at the time, which ended. Was Nunes the champion at the time? I don't think she was the champion at the time, but Nunes... I thought Nunes would give up the 145-pound belt to fight for the 155-pound belt, and Kayla Harrison would come in and win. To fight for the 135-pound belt, and I thought Kayla Harrison would come in and win the 145-pound belt. So that was my thinking behind that. Obviously, Kayla Harrison signed with Bellator, but then PFL matched that, so she had to go back and fight with PFL, and then lost to Clarissa Pacheco in PFL. So yeah, not a great. Do you think part of that, Graeme, her underperforming, I suppose, this year in a couple of fights, losing obviously the main one, had a lot to do with not being able to go and leave PFL and sign somewhere else?
Yeah, well, if you're not happy where you want to be and you wanted to be somewhere else, that could definitely be a factor. And the fact that you're facing somebody you've already faced and already beat, and maybe the motivation isn't there, you're kind of, taking it for granted a little bit. There's probably a number of things going on there. But yeah, it was a real disappointment for her. Like, if she had won that, maybe they would have said, "Oh, we can't really offer you anything more here. We will let you go to Bellator." But now her position is weakened. So yeah, that prediction really went off it was kind of doomed from the start. It had too many moving pieces for the MMA gods to allow that to happen.
It did. So I'm all for 4 years. Do you know what? I've had some good years. This was just not a good year. It was not a good year. Number 5, Khabib Nurmagomedov returns to fight. That didn't happen. Yeah. He returned to coach a lot, though. He returned to fighting.
No, come on. Yeah, that one. Like, I probably would have agreed with that one. MMA retirements, as we always talk about, are usually very short-lived. But the size of Khabib now, and the fact that he recently again said that he wouldn't do it because of his mum and all that stuff. Yeah, maybe.
Do you think? Maybe I was thinking last night, right? If Leon Edwards still remains champion at welterweight, do you think Khabib will see that? It's like, Jesus, I could go in there, pick up a title fairly handily, beat Leon Edwards, and become a 2-way champion. Any thought there?
If you could get a 1-fight deal and just walk away, you might do that. I think he didn't want to fight Usman. I never heard him talk about that, which is strange when you're a dominant champion of the weight below.
Ali is managing both of them. I never understood that, but that was it.
That's the strange one. But yeah, that would have made a lot of sense. Khabib was struggling with weight for a long time. Moving up seemed like it was inevitable to me throughout the years, but never happened. So yeah, maybe he's just not interested. If he told his mother and all that, and he's still saying that, and maybe we can actually believe this MMA retirement. But we'll probably see him fighting at some stage again, like before I don't know. We'll probably see him come back at least once, even if it's Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz 7 style.
Yeah. The weird thing about Khabib is like, it does feel like there are, at the time, and maybe not so much now because time has passed, but like there was a lot of unfinished business at lightweight. Like he'd beaten a good few people, but he hadn't beaten everyone. Like, and it's not like he was a dominant champion for a long, long time. He kind of got the title shot laid, won a few fights. Obviously, had
and a load of money on the table. I suppose maybe he was in a different position where he has money coming in from other sources, and he seems to be comfortable. But you know, that's a lot of money to leave on the table either way.
Yeah, and Russia, look where Russia is at the moment as well. Is that money still there? Like, it's a tough one. I don't know. Like, I've said it in the past before, like, it might take McGregor coming back and being successful to bring Khabib back out of retirement. But as you say, if past this prologue, Khabib will fight again. But look, he is a devout man to his beliefs, you know, whether it's his religious beliefs or his other beliefs. And if his belief is, I never want to fight again, then, you know, maybe it is true. Maybe I was wrong, and maybe you were wrong with the way we said it all the time. Like, that is,
like, I think in his head right now it's final, but you know, these things can change. You know, you can get the itch back, or circumstances can change, or somebody can get under your skin, and you want to go back and teach him a lesson. Or, you know, I think Khabib in his mind, there's no doubt now that he's retired. But you know, we've seen people change their mind on the regular.
We have, in fairness. Next one, Amanda Nunes wins 3 fights in a row. Number 6, she won 1 fight in a row, I suppose. So do I get a third of a point for that?
No.
She won 1 fight, yeah. No. Like,
one in a row.
What do you think the future is for Amanda Nunes? Like, I wasn't that impressed on her comeback fight. Obviously, she was terrible in the fight before it. Yeah.
You know, she looked nervous in her comeback fight, even though she won. I think she's by far the better fighter, but she looked a little nervous. I don't know if her heart is still in. I don't know if she's that, like, you know, to be a bit cheesy, or that lioness anymore, that mentality.
Hey, I like that one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know if the fire is still in her. You know, she could get it back, you know, as I said for the last one, you know, minds can change and all that stuff, and motivation can come and go. And yeah, but her, as you know, her as she was on the way up, and when she first had the title and was trying to make history, you know, the first double woman champion and all that stuff, you know, it's hard to get back to that level when you've already made a lot of money, you've already beaten, you know, you've already done it all.
The fact that Kayla Harrison as well didn't,
you know, she has all the talent. I think she can beat, you know, I think she can beat Kayla Harrison if she's motivated and puts in the out, like, you know, at her peak. I think she beats everybody, but it's just the big question is, does she have the motivation, the mindset, and the willingness to do what she needs to do to get back to where she was, or to get, you know, even better than she was? And recent fights would say she doesn't, but who knows what's going on in the background as well, what distractions are going on, things like that. I don't think she'll get back to how dominant as she was. She has
at least one child now, anyway. I don't know, maybe multiple kids, and it's, things change for you in life as well. And as you said, she isn't someone, I don't think, who lives like a big lavish lifestyle and is spending all that money. And she's earned good money. Like, she's been in big Ronda Rousey fights where she was the champion and Ronda Rousey was the challenger. And I'm like, if she was getting the pay-per-view points for that, she was quids in that fight. And she's been on a lot of those big cards. She's been very lucky, I suppose, with the cards she's been on, and I'm sure earned a lot of money. So yeah, look, fair play to her. We can't criticise her for that as well. I'm very, very, very interested in her next fight. Like, will she come out look like the lioness, or will she look like a pussycat? You know, that's what I want to know for the next one. So we'll see with that. Right, number 7. We better start running through a few of these. We'll be here all night. Both Diaz brothers fight exactly once. Both lose. Nick didn't fight. Nathan fought once and won, so I was just wrong on every count there.
You were probably going to be right if the original Nate Diaz disaster plan had gone through, but
I would have got half a point, but no. Nearly.
No. Nick Diaz predicting him coming back, you know, that's a toss up.
He had fought Robbie Lawler though, just, you know, a couple of months before that, and that was.
But he hadn't fought in 5 years before that, or something like that.
These things happen. We'll move on. Franz Malambo signs for the UFC. Where is Franz at the moment? He was in Combaches. I know there was a bit of back and forth there. There was talks of him signing for other places. Any update on Franz, Graeme, or what's the crack with him?
Yeah, it looks like there'll be news coming soon. I can't really say, but he's not going to be fighting for Combache anymore. I can't really say too much.
Yeah, I think like,
but he didn't sign for the UFC, so
no, he didn't sign for the UFC. I think the thing with Franz though is, I feel like there's been a few very unlucky moves for France over the last while, like Bellator kind of letting him go, and in the different places he signs. Like, France has been fighting really, really, really well, and the run that he has been on probably is good enough to get him signed to the UFC, but maybe he wasn't in the right place, maybe he didn't have the right contract or whatever at the time, and look, where's he going to end up now? I suppose we will see very, very soon. But like, it feels like Franz Malambo is one of the most talented fighters in Ireland, and really hasn't had the opportunity to fight at a level that some of the other lads have had to fight at over the last while, whether it's even, you know, Paul Hughes, Ian Gary, or, you know, some of the guys fighting in Bellator. Like, his last fight happened, he didn't fight at all in 2022. You know, it was the 12th to the 12th, 2021 was his last fight. And he fought, what was it? He fought 3 times in one night. There didn't he in that Kambachi tournament. So like, it's been a tough time for Franz Malambo.
Yeah. Every time he gets momentum going, it seems like circumstances kind of leads to him losing that momentum. And maybe in the past, some of it was his, not being in training. But I think over the last few years, he's been dedicated, and the chips have just kind of fallen the other way. As you said, Bellator let him go.
8 of his last 9 fights, Graeme. 8 of his last 9. What a fucking run that is like.
Yeah, including, like, you know, impressive wins. And, you know, the loss that he did have against Ricky Bandejas was kind of, you know, he was dominating that fight and he got caught, and he didn't, like, you know, I've seen Franz nearly, like, most of his amateur fights and all of his pro fights, and seen him spar a lot. And, you know, that was like something you really don't see, him getting caught like that. So that was like kind of out of the blue. And, you know, obviously it was a really nice shot and all that stuff, but that wasn't a fight that he got blown out of the water, and he was looking very good in that fight up until that point. Just, you know, he seems to have the momentum on the record, as you said, like in the last 9 fights. But in terms of, you know, the frequency of fights, it's just not there. And like, even now, like, you know, he hasn't fought in a year, as you said, and he's off like landscape and like keep himself going and stuff, you know. And when he really, like, ideally you'd want him in the gym preparing for fights, or even just, you know, sharpening his skills while he waits for a fight contract or something like that. But yeah, it just seems to get derailed all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Next one, Stephen Thompson fights MVP. That didn't happen. We could just move on from that. Like, I thought one of them might move the opposite way and then they'd end up fighting, but it didn't happen. Like, MVP went bare knuckle box and lost. I can't believe what Bellator have been doing the last year. Just letting, like, I think Cyborg is out of contract, so fair enough with her, but letting MVP go bare knuckle box and all of this malarkey, it's just weird. I wonder why. Obviously came back and he won against Holland, so he'll be in the UFC for another while. But I think, like, MVP, I would love to see him just, you know, I think MVP and Bellator have kind of come to a natural end now. Let him move on and let it go to the UFC or something if they'd want him, but I don't know, maybe not. We'll move on. You know,
I'd love to see him in the UFC. It would really freshen up his career. Yeah. You know, he wouldn't be. Maybe he'd get 1 or 2 kind of warm up fights, but he wouldn't be fighting, you know, people nobody's heard of outside of the hardcore. Is like, you know, it's hard to. At the start, people were like, "Okay, yeah, great, this is great." Like, let's see him as he goes up, and we're still kind of, you know, in that situation. He took a run at it and it kind of, you know, lost the title shot to Lima, and since then it's kind of gone back to, you know, underwhelming opponents. And in the UFC, you know, I think it'd be great for the UFC to be really nice matchups. People be looking to fight him. You know, Bellator obviously want to keep him around, but how much is he actually pulling in for them? Is he actually, you know, worth keeping? If the UFC were to offer him a good contract, would it be worth Bellator's while to actually match that?
Probably not. And like, the UK scene isn't exactly doing great for Bellator, is it? Like, they can't sell out an arena in the UK, like, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I'd love to see MVP fight in Dublin, actually. That'd be a great addition.
Yeah, I was thinking that they should be using them if they want to have a non-Irish main event, they should be using people like MVP more. I know he fought Kylie and stuff like that, but, you know, that's their biggest show in Europe, maybe even around the world for Bellator, the Irish show, like, in terms of atmosphere and coverage and, you know, interest. It's definitely up there anyway. So yeah, I'd like to see it if MVP's sticking around. I'd like to see him, you know, in Dublin again, but it just seems like other guys whose career is just stalled, and you know, a fresh set of matchups in the UFC, or, you know, even in a PFL tournament or something would be very good for him, I think. MVP versus Kylie 2, the rematch everyone wants to see. Right, we'll move on. Number 10, Khamzat Chimaev and defeats Cameron Usman for UFC welterweight title and immediately challenges the middleweight champion. That obviously didn't happen. Usman lost
Chimaev obviously missed weight for the Diaz thing and then ended up fighting Kevin Holland, but he had that unbelievable matchup with Gilbert Burns before that. Maybe was that last year? I don't know. It was this year because it was in the running for Fight of the Year and stuff, and Usman lost and all. So, yeah, like the Chimaev train really hasn't gone as fast as I think I was predicting, as a lot of people predicting. Like a lot of that, I suppose, was to do as well with the fact that Leon Edwards, I suppose, got the fight. We were kind of like, we'll just get that out the way and then we'll do Chimaev versus Usman, but Edwards won. And then, like, they're, for some reason, I know, okay, Usman was injured and I don't know if he's still injured or not, but, like, they decided to wait, like, 8 months to put on another fight at welterweight. I was like, what? Why are they waiting? Like, why are they waiting so long? And I know they want to go to the UK or whatever. Go to the UK and fucking around this time of the year or something. I thought that was very bizarre, but yeah, that was that ruined my whole Chimaev thing anyway.
You can't go this time of the year to Cardiff anyway.
Graeme.
That open roof, you know, is a big problem. Like they've looked into the logistics and it's just not workable.
I can't believe more people didn't call him out on that. I don't know if anyone saw it. Like,
he probably doesn't have a clue about, like, you know, there's other people probably doing it, but like, yeah, Jesus, that was
ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, Irish fighters go undefeated in the UFC. Was that Dean Barry fight a DQ? It was, wasn't it? Or was it? It wasn't. It was a DQ. Let me look it up here.
He lost by DQ. Yeah.
Yeah, so that didn't happen. But like that was a joke of a DQ. It really shouldn't have been a DQ. Ian Gary won his 2 fights. Isn't it sad though we don't really have...
Oh, that was close, yeah. Yeah,
we don't have many Irish fighters in the UFC. Like, it's just kind of Ian Gary. Maybe by the time this is out, maybe Paul Hughes will be
Paul Hughes, hopefully, you know, for next year, surely Paul Hughes will be in the UFC. Yeah,
I know there's a few SBG guys. Obviously, Johnny Walker is in the UFC and... you know, his Amir Khan is kind of gone now, isn't he? But who's it? Lucy Pudilova, is that her name? She's in the UFC, isn't she, with SPG? But yeah, that didn't happen. I feel I should. No, you're not giving me that. No, the Irish fighters go undefeated. Like,
well, it can't really. If you
Dean Barry was robbed.
Straight statistics. Hashtag
facts.
Hashtag Barry was robbed.
Hashtag Barry.
Yeah,
give me half a point.
I actually agree that it shouldn't have been a DQ, but it was and it is, and on the record books it is. So I don't think I can give that to you, even though you're on 0 still. We're more than halfway through.
The next 2 I'm going to argue over, right? And I'm going to demand points for these. Darren Till gets cut from the UFC, right? Darren Till is going to get cut from the UFC like soon. So.
Well, you have a little bit of time. Maybe, you know, you might get a Christmas letter from Dana saying you're good.
Yeah, we're recording this a little bit earlier, everyone. So by the time this podcast comes out, hopefully I'll have an hour. Sorry, Darren.
Fingers crossed. Poor Darren Till, folks. I hope he gets fired for Christmas so you can get one right.
Fingers crossed Darren Till gets caught. Fucking freaks.
Poor lad.
Poor old Darren. He was shite though, wasn't he? Well, he was fairly bad now, so he couldn't be giving out too much. But yeah, Darren Till.
You've torn your ACL again. You lost. Merry Christmas. You're cut.
Bye.
Poor Darren Till. Hopefully he doesn't get cut.
No, Darren Till versus MVP.
I stand with Darren.
I stand with Darren. Well, he can't stand. He's a torn ACL. But Darren Till versus MVP in Bellator. I'd watch that. Make it happen.
Yeah,
make it happen.
You know, Darren Till going to Bellator might be good for him, but he probably still believes, you know, if he can get back to fitness. You know, he was talking about how in the gym, for some reason he can't make it happen in the cage anymore. So I don't think, you know, he's thinking of changing it up like that. I think he's still trying to, you know, make a run at the UFC title, even though that looks extremely unlikely. You never know in MMA. Like, you know, you put a streak together, something clicks, but it's a long, long road back. So yeah, maybe we'll see him in Bellator in the future, but I don't think in the next year or two we will. Yeah. Right. My next number 13. This is the one I got right officially 100%. An Irish fighter gets to a PFL final, and Brendan Loughnane did. What's the story of Brendan Loughnane? Is it a grandfather or a grandmother or a mother or father who's Irish? I don't know, but his name is Loughnane, like, so it has to be a father. You don't know. It could be your only one you got right, and you don't even know the. I do know. You don't even have your argument
Brendan Loughnane tweeted this very article that I'm reading from at the moment, and he said an Irish fighter gets to the PFL final and put like the emoji things on it, and I replied to him saying, if you get to the final, I'm 100% going to argue. And he basically said, yeah, you should, or something like that. So this is correct. He wore an Irish kit.
You're going to argue. You didn't even say you're going to claim it.
I am claiming it. Oh,
you can argue anything. You can argue an apple is an orange if you want.
He wore an Irish kit in the tournament. His name is Brendan Loughnane. This is like, do I even need to say any more? Will I just mark down to 1 point?
I'll give you half a point. I said I'd be charitable. I said I'd be charitable.
All right, do you know what? I'll take the half a point. I'll take
You need it. It's a sympathy half point.
It's a sympathy half point. I'll take it. Number 14, Jose Aldo fights Dominic Cruz. That didn't happen. Jeez, I was doing a podcast the other day and I was like, the fuck up they made of the end of Jose Aldo's UFC career was outstanding in its shitness almost. Like they gave TJ Dillashaw a shot in front of him undeservedly. TJ Dillashaw comes in with a shoulder like mine, fucking taps out after the second round when he's just falling around the place. Jose Aldo has the worst fight of the year against fucking Mirab Dashvili, loses a shitty decision and goes boxing like or something. God almighty. Could they have fucked up Jose Aldo anymore? Jesus.
Yeah, it's bad. You know, but it never ends well. Like, you know, obviously the UFC didn't help here, but yeah, it probably wouldn't have ended well either way. Like, and it probably hasn't really ended either. You know, hashtag MMA retirements or whatever. But
indeed,
yeah, Dominic Cruz didn't fight Jose Aldo. That's another L for Shawnee.
Indeed, he didn't. Tom Aspinall earns a heavyweight title shot. No, he got injured and fucked up his knee. So that didn't happen.
It could have been on the way. Like it was looking 50, now maybe 30%, 40% likely. But obviously that injury, he would have to won that fight. But yeah, that kind of through no fault of your own fell away. But I suppose MMA injury or injuries in MMA are part of the game. A lot
of these are not happening through no fault of my own. To be fair, it's all these fucking pesky fighters and promoters and stuff making my predictions wrong. But the next one actually is right. So fair play. A major MMA organization signs a broadcast deal with Amazon, which One Championship did. So I got that one right at least. I got one right, Graeme. I think that was a prediction at the time. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think that was a prediction at the time that actually a lot of people didn't think would happen. And I remember we were even talking about it, like, oh, maybe you never know. And it was bold enough and it came off pretty quickly, I think. So yeah, I got one right, Graeme. I got one right. Fair play to me.
Very good. You're on a roll here. You got a sympathy half point in the recent one as well.
Yeah, I'm telling you. A UFC champion is stripped of a title due to a failed drugs test. Now, this is an interesting one because
you're going to throw mud at somebody to try and argue for your failed prediction. You're going to stain their good name.
I wouldn't do that to Yuri Prochazka. Absolutely not. I would not.
Oh, fuck's sake.
I leave Ian O'Neill do that. You did that in the show there recently. Look. So allegedly, so they're not announcing the drugs test anymore. You know, champions have lost their belts. How are we supposed to know if it's a drug test or not? Lads gone away for 2 years, coming back. I don't know, Graeme. I don't know. Should I get a half point for the not knowing?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you can put that stain on somebody that's never tested positive for anything and. You know,
at 48
just unfortunately injured and did the honourable thing or tried to do the honourable thing of stepping away. So I think you shouldn't put down this good man just due to your horrible predictions.
Also, this is a comedy podcast. This one, so please, anything we say here is not serious. I don't mean that here. He didn't fail a drugs test or anything like that. So very good. Next one, 18, 3 more left. A fighter not currently in the UFC becomes a UFC champion. Now, Alex Pereira he fucking had one fight in the UFC and then he did become UFC champion. But yeah, no one else. I don't think so. Are you going to give me a half point for Alex Pereira? He'd only one fight?
No, he's already in the UFC. But like that was unlucky because I definitely didn't expect him to. We kind of saw what was coming when they were trying to line it up, but I didn't expect him to win it anyway. But yeah, there was no other really contenders there either. Kayla
Harrison was the one everyone was like, oh yeah, Kayla Harrison is definitely going to do that. That's not even a bold prediction. And then, that didn't end up happening. So it turned into a very bold prediction and it didn't come off. We'll run through the last two here Ray Cooper, the third wins the PFL tournament. He obviously didn't. Sadabusi won a welterweight. Ray Cooper didn't have a great year. I feel in the PFL as well, sometimes you just need to move on. I feel once you do that season 2 or 3 times, especially if you win it maybe once or even especially twice, I think it's probably time to move on and do something else. And people Ariel was laughing and why would he do that? Why would he go and fight for 20 grand in the UFC? Well, he probably didn't get that much more than that, and he got fucking beaten in the PFL. I think he probably, if he got into the UFC, say fought someone like Sean Brady.
Stock is high, stock is high when you're the double or even single champion of the $1 million tournament. You could have went to the UFC with a bit of hype, but in the past maybe we've seen with Bellator champions have come in, Dana's kind of given them bad matchups or putting them, or not Dana but the UFC have given them bad matchups and put them kind of not in great positionings on cards and things like that. Or what was it, Lyman Good, he said he's fighting some Bellator guy or something with some quote that. So
I was like, who was that? Who said that?
Lyman Good.
No, but Lyman Good was the Bellator guy. Oh yeah, okay.
He's former Bellator champion, and it was he just in a scrum or a press conference or something, he was like, he's fighting some Bellator guy, and Lyman Good. Fantastic. And respect.
Number 20, Conor McGregor fights Tony Ferguson. He's returned from injury. I'm actually I'm a bit surprised that Conor hasn't, I know maybe you'd know better than this, but I think if he didn't have that film, I think he might have come back around the end of the year, but it looks like it's going to be, the first quarter maybe next year, or pushing on to the summer maybe. You surprised Conor?
I think with a really bad injury, like a leg injury, we were, everybody in MMA, or most people in MMA were probably a little bit ambitious about how quickly you come back from that. It's always better to not risk it. It's a pretty devastating injury. We get desensitized to these kind of injuries, but when your leg's hanging off, it's pretty bad, and you're probably well advised to make sure and take your time with it. And it's probably the right decision, but for your prediction, it's obviously it's not ideal.
Yeah, indeed. All right, so that is...
Well, Tony Ferguson on his return from injury, we've talked about it on the podcast a couple of times, that would be a nice fight. Tony has a big name for his years in the UFC, and obviously he gets, on a Rogan podcast, and Eddie Bravo talks him up and stuff like that, so people know who he is, and people like his style. He's in exciting fights, and, it would be completely understandable if... the UFC and Conor wanted to have a warm-up fight after such a bad injury, as I mentioned, and another long layoff as well. So I would like to see him fight Tony Ferguson. I know Tony Ferguson at the moment is coming off a loss, but I don't even think that matters. I think, it's just an exciting fight that people will get behind, and maybe it wouldn't do the numbers of Conor coming back in a title shot, but I think it would do very good numbers and would make sense all around. But
yeah, Conor's Conor's coming off a couple of losses too, and he's coming off of a broken leg, so that's...
Yeah, well, I can see how the UFC are thinking, we put him in the biggest fights we can, make the most money, but, I think it's a nice matchup for Conor to come back to. Exciting. The fans will be well up for it. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so that's 1.5. 1.5 out of 20.
One in the sympathy half. We have to put that the sympathy in the middle there.
Yeah. Not great. Now, this was probably the worst set of predictions I've ever made, but it was a very unpredictable year. It was a really unpredictable year, so credit to me for getting the 1.5. We'll move on. Before we get to next year's predictions, we must tell you that this episode is also brought to you by our friends over at NordVPN. And with NordVPN, I can switch my virtual location to a country that is showing the sports event that I want to watch, MMA events, Bellator, PFL, and all of that, so you don't miss out on anything at all. So NordVPN as well, it helps save money. To protect you from cybercrime. You could change your virtual location to sign up for subscription services via other countries and pay a much cheaper price. For example, sign up with Netflix while virtually being in Mexico is much cheaper than the US/the UK. You can book your flights for holidays and holidays via another country and pay less. NordVPN essentially pays for itself in that. I know people are getting more concerned about cybercrime all the time. People stealing their data and invading their privacy, and people are not that tech savvy with it and don't know how to kind of avoid it. But luckily with NordVPN, it's a one-stop shop for all things cybersecurity. It's incredibly easy for me to use, and just with one click I'm protected. I don't have to be a tech genius to use it with my NordVPN account. I can have up to 6 devices protected, which is really, really good. No longer have to worry about hackers, malicious sites and pop-ups. For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, I have complete peace of mind knowing that my devices and data are protected. And, you know, as well as that, as I mentioned, with Netflix and with Disney and all of them, you know, sometimes you're looking for, is this show on it? Hard to find, and you look it up, it's on. It's on.
Even with the Notorious, our McGregor documentary on Netflix, it's in multiple countries like the UK and Ireland and stuff, but loads of countries it isn't. At the moment, it isn't in America. You can just change it over there, log onto your Netflix account, bingo, bango.
Handy out.
You can even, like, there's a website, UNOGS. .com, where you can go in and type in any film, any documentary name, and it'll tell you which countries Netflix it's on, and you can just switch to that, and there it is. Very,
very handy. Yeah, so with NordVPN, you can switch your virtual location, and as Graeme said there, watch the Notorious documentary if you're in the UK, access the streaming services from 60 countries at absolutely no extra cost. This opens up Pandora's box of entertaining content that you wouldn't be able to access without NordVPN. So absolutely brilliant. It's the price of a cup of coffee every month. Small price to pay for premium cybersecurity and access to a vast amount of entertaining content from all over the world. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/SevereMMA to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So exclusive NordVPN deal, nordvpn.com/SevereMMA. Try it risk-free now with a 30-day money-back guarantee. All right, Graeme, let's move on and let's talk about the predictions for next year. Hopefully they're better than last year. Let's
I'd say you're feeling wary looking at them now, are you? After that performance from last year.
I'm not even going to go through. I'm just going to go through them one by one here because I literally don't know what's coming up. So here we go. Bellator goes out of business. Number 1.
Jeez, that's a big prediction.
There's a big one.
I say Bellator are going to be delighted you made that prediction.
Bellator love me, sure, yeah.
I don't see it happening. I think live sports are such a, I've talked about this before, Amazon wanting to get into the space, people don't watch live TV. A lot of people don't watch live TV unless it's sports. They watch it on online or on streaming service after, and they can binge watch it, all that stuff. They don't have to watch ads. So I think it's in a good position to get good advertisements or good advertisers for the networks and stuff like that. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I suppose that's why it's a bold prediction.
Indeed. I just think the signs are not great for Bellator, to be honest. I think, they haven't been signing any of the real big names in a while. Okay, they signed Yoel Romero and a couple more, but the Bo Nickel was the one as well that signed for the UFC, and I saw a lot of people tweeting, geez, how come Bellator didn't pick him up? And it's when they're starting to lose guys like that on the way up, which they have been signing all of recently, I don't know if that's a great sign. And I feel like as well, you're saying the TV deals and all. The thing about Bellator is they don't have a TV deal because they're owned by the TV station they're on. So all Bellator is to them is basically losing money. So I wonder, and they can sell ads from it and everything like that. Maybe they're making some money out of it. But I wonder, is it as much hassle as it's worth? And if there are cost-cutting measures going in, which I think there's been a bit of, allegedly, we will see how long that keeps going. Now, I do think I picked Bellator here just because I don't know. I feel like the signs of Bellator aren't great. But I think one of Bellator, PFL and one championship, one of them will not exist in the next 2 years. Now, that's obviously the small predictions for this year, but I don't think they can all sustain themselves going forward. So, yeah, just gone for Bellator. I just don't. I'll probably be wrong. But I don't think the signs are great, to be honest. So there you go.
Don't come back claiming a half point if one FC go out of business. All right.
I might.
Or one championship. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. Number 2. Now maybe this isn't even possible because I know they have another betting deal, but the UFC signs a deal with Barstool Sports. Now it'll probably be a betting deal, but I just think there's been they have the Paddy Pimblett with the Barstool things. They have Dave Portnoy showing up at fights all the time. Barstool are getting way bigger with the betting, with the sports betting and all of that. And I think it's a perfect mix with like the ages of people that watch UFC and that people that are now betting and people with Barstool as well. And also, I think things could change because of this whole betting scandal. Like, let's say if whoever's with him now leaves the UFC and like tears up their betting deal, Barstool could come in then and get a betting deal with them or something. So not necessarily just the betting. I'm just going to go UFC signs a deal with Barstool Sports, whatever that might be. Like another thing I could see as well, like UFC doing like a media rights deal or something like that, where it's like, before every fight, there's like 5 or 6 fighters get interviewed on Barstool or whatever, create their own media rather than have the MMA media doing that. I could see something like that. What do you think, Graeme? Is that something that's possible?
I don't see that. No, they might sign some kind of like small deal or something, but not something so big like that. I don't think. I don't think that'll be ill-advised. I think the UFC making an ill-advised decision isn't really, I suppose, the most uncommon thing. But,
that wouldn't be like them, no.
Yeah, maybe some kind of deal, but the ones you suggested, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. Number 3, Jon Jones loses a fight. What do you think? Will it happen?
An MMA fighter or some kind of like street fighter?
An MMA. I go with MMA fight. Yeah. What do you think?
Oof. As we said with the with him actually fighting in the other prediction, it's probably definitely not guaranteed. Anyway, it's probably like a 50-50 at this stage. The way it's going. Depends who they give him, if they put him in there against Ngannou or something, or Stipe, he definitely could lose after a long layoff and moving up weight and stuff like that. So, yeah, that one's more likely than the other ones so far, I think. But still, with Jon Jones, he's an unpredictable man, and anything could happen. He could get arrested at any moment, and something could happen. We just don't know with him.
I think Jon Jones will definitely fight either Francis Ngannou or Cyril Gane this year. Now, he might fight Stipe Miocic first, and I think he will win that fight, but then he'll fight one of them two, and I think he'll lose that fight against either one of those lads, to be honest. So that's kind of why I'm going for it. I'm not sure if Francis is going to come back.
So you think two fights, yeah?
No. One or the other. I think, like, if Francis is gone... So, sorry, what you say? He's going to have 2 fights. Yeah, I think he will.
Jon Jones, 2 fights this year or next year. Sorry.
Well, if he fights Stipe, if he fights Francis first, he might only have 1 fight. But I think if he fights Stipe, he will definitely fight for the title after that against whether it's either Cyril Gane or whether it's Francis. Like Francis might give up the belt and go boxing or something, and then I could see that happening. But yeah, I do think Jon Jones will be back this year and will fight for the title, whether that's in 1 fight or whether it's in 2 fights. So do you not think that, no?
Yeah, well, like it would make a lot of sense from all parties involved, but yeah, with Jon Jones, it's it's hard to know what he's going to do, and with the UFC, obviously, you'd think they'd want to do the pay-per-views, but they also have the ESPN deal where it doesn't actually really matter. So how motivated are they if Jon Jones is making it somewhat difficult? Are they just going to say, we'll just shelve him until he's desperate? But yeah, I'd say if I had to bet, I'd say he will come back this year. But that prediction could happen. But I think if he comes back, he'll probably win because that's how talented and good he is.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
But heavyweight is if he comes back at heavyweight, like it is there is some big dudes there, and Jon Jones is used to being the big dude, so it's a different
dynamic,
task. Yeah, different dynamic.
Very interesting. Number 4, Kayla Harrison loses another fight. With this one, I think Kayla Harrison, I think she might struggle a bit mentally coming back after that loss. I don't know what's going to happen with her if she's staying with PFL. Like, she's talking about fighting in like the PFL pay-per-view thing. I don't know what PFL are doing. They're like doing major cards now. She doesn't want to be in the tournament anymore. I don't know if that will actually happen because she lost, but I feel like they're probably going to make this Pacheco fight again. It's going to be an even tougher fight for her this time. Maybe she won't lose that fight, but I just feel like someone who's like that and who's been beaten in such a fashion, can they recover from that mentally? That's a big thing I want to know. And or could it go the other way? Like maybe it'll give.
You
her
could light a fire under her. You know,
Yeah.
we just never know until we see it. With this type of situation. If she stays in PFL, you know, I'd pick her to beat everybody. But you know, somebody could emerge that we're not thinking about, or that isn't even signed, or that's flying under the radar, and you know, could be a big signing or something like that. But yeah, I think it's unlikely if she stays in PFL. If she comes to the UFC, she'll probably lose, I think.
Yeah.
But I think she'll probably stick around the PFL by the sounds of the little bit she said.
It's a real pity like that. She's in PFL fighting at 155, but could fight at 145. And now Pacheco's obviously a top fighter there as well. Amanda Nunes in the UFC, and Cyborg is in Bellator / nowhere. It's like all the three people that should be fighting each other are all in different places, and it's just such a sad thing to see. Like when they did fight, Cyborg and Amanda Nunes, one of my favourite fights ever. It was such a great fight. It's an absolute crying shame. Like it feels like very, you know, the 145-pound women's division feels like boxing. You know, it feels like the heavyweight boxing or something, that none of these people are fighting each other. No, we had a bit of it obviously, but like it's such a pity, and hopefully they can get that organised. But anyway, number 5, MVP signs one championship. Now,
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, well, like I think, as I said earlier, he needs a freshen up. You know,
yes,
I think so. But I'd love to see him in the UFC just selfishly, just some of the matchups, and you know, just to see him actually, you know, fighting top level guys consistently would be fantastic. Like we've been waiting years for that, but. 1FC, yeah, soccer kicks, stuff like that. That'd be very interesting as well.
Yes, yeah. I think the thing why I said that as well, my reason behind that is I don't think UFC will pay him the money to give him a better contract in Bellator, but I think one championship probably will.
You think he can come to the UFC, make himself a star, or even not even in terms of winning the belt or anything like that? That maybe he could. Like it's unlikely, I think, but maybe he could. But in terms of making himself a big name and getting deals, like, you know, sponsors, more like making himself, you know, not a household name, but a
maybe
kind of breaking out of this kind of, you know, he
you think he can?
Yeah.
Like
1FC coming to Amazon, if they extend that deal, if that goes well and they extend that Amazon deal to worldwide, that's a game changer, and maybe that would attract MVP to. Or further attract MVP to a deal with one, but yeah, selfishly I'd like to see him in the UFC. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about the one championship thing. I think it's definitely a bold prediction. It's definitely unlikely, but it's an interesting proposition.
Yeah, like they have Soldic there in that division as well. I know lads are going up all the time, like Christian Lee gone up to welterweight, and you know Rene the Reader kind of coming down. Haven't been up. Like they have some very good fighters in around that division as well, and. You know, there's lots of fights I'd like to see him fight there as well. And as I said again, like I don't think the UFC will pay him the money that I think one championship will. Like Bellator feel like not that they're out of the MVP business, but they're kind of like he didn't become champion in that Storley fight. I'd say they might be happy enough to move on from him. Maybe I'm wrong now, but yeah, I just think he needs. We both said no. I think he needs a new move. But anyway, we'll move on. Number 6. Khamzat Chimaev wins the welterweight and middleweight titles in the UFC.
I don't know.
Would you pick
you
him?
have to do it pretty quick. If he gets in there against Pereira, then yeah, maybe.
I didn't say in what order as well. So he could fight Pereira. I didn't say in what order. He could fight Pereira first and then fight Leon Edwards maybe, or Usman. Like,
geez, that'd be some savage matchmaking for Pereira. Fuck's sake. All right, yeah, no, good job there, mate. Okay. Shimmy's waiting in the back there. Good luck.
Just release the hounds.
Foaming at the mouth. Like, in the back.
What's going on? Yeah, I'd watch it though. But like, it's amazing Chimaev hasn't got a title shot somewhere yet. And also, do you know this?
He fucked it up. Like, even missing the weight was one thing, but then the way he reacted, just like fucking, I don't know.
Yeah,
you're
was
just
really
never gonna please, you know, Dana, the UFC brass, the fans. It was just a really bad move. Like, he just at least even pretend, just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I missed weight. It won't happen again," and then you can talk trash. Don't say, "Oh, I don't give a shit. Fuck you."
Yeah, that's true.
That I think definitely didn't help.
Yes, I would tend to agree with that. But still, I do think he will be the type of guy who will get a title shot this year and would immediately call for the other belt after it, whichever one it is. And, the UFC, when that happens, they'll forgive what happened earlier on very, very quickly. And, I think he'd beat Pereira. I think he'd beat Adesanya. I think he'd beat Leon Edwards. And Usman, I would just about pick him to beat Usman as well. That's a closer one. But
no.
You know?
I pick Usman to beat him, but I think maybe a few fights would improve him. He's still very early. Maybe if he had 2 or 3 more fights before fighting Usman, he might be at a different level or might have shown us more. But I think if you put him in there now, I think that's a big ask.
Yeah, give him a warm-up fight against Pereira and then give him Usman. That's the way to do it. Right, number 7. Henry Cejudo does not have a fight. Now, I'm not sure. I think that is maybe a bit bold. What do you think about Henry Cejudo? Will he come back? Will he not?
I don't know. I haven't really been following the social media of Henry or anything like that. Has he been talking about coming back? Or
he has, yeah. He's in the USADA pool and all, I think.
Yeah. If he's in the USADA pool 6 months, yeah. How long has he been in? Do you know?
A few months, yeah. I'd say he's nearly ready now. I'd say by the time the new year kicks off, he'll be in.
Well, if he's put himself in, he's gone through the annoyance of all that shit, You're a private contractor who has to tell this company your every move is a bit... It's a lot, you know what I mean? So
maybe I should change that to Henry Cejudo doesn't win a UFC fight. How about... Should I adjust?
Yeah, I think if he's gone through all that, they can wake you up at 4 a.m. on your holidays, and you know what I mean. You're just fucking tied down to them. So,
I'll move it to doesn't win a fight, which is still a bold prediction. He could have 2 or 3 fights, and he'll have to lose them all for me to be right. So. That's still...
and he's obviously a phenomenal fighter as well. That will probably be favoured against nearly everybody, if not everybody.
Yeah, interesting. Right, number 8. 3 Irish fighters leave Cage Warriors Dublin with titles.
Oof. 3.
Yeah.
Jesus. I don't know. That's... Cage Warriors would have to put on some fucking card for that to happen, and the Irish would have to clean sweep probably. It's definitely a bold prediction. It'd be fantastic, absolutely fantastic, memorable night. It'd be great for us, but it's definitely bold,
So here's the reckoning.
Even the chances of 3 title fights being put on with Irish guys in them on that night is probably low.
I don't know. So Rhys McKee is the champion at the moment. He'll probably fight Jimmy Wallhead for the title there, right? Paul Hughes is the champion at the moment. Okay, he might be in the UFC, but there is a chance he could fight in that Cage Warriors card. And then Caelan Loughran is probably the number 1 contender for Martignoni's belt at 135. So,
but would they blow their load with all of those? You just need to
that's what I'm thinking.
If Paul Hughes is still there, you can just put Paul Hughes on the top, and you don't even need 2 other title fights. You've already got him banger of a show.
But it's in the 3 Arena. And that's the biggest show they'll do all year anywhere in UK, Ireland, the world. So they have to stack it.
It's true. You're putting a lot of your belts kind of... maybe. It would be absolutely fantastic if they did that. It'd be a real, you said Bellator, maybe you're I don't know...
Shite card? Is that what you're trying to say there?
Well, Bellator, their card hasn't been met with a big reception, and you're saying maybe there's some cutbacks going, and it'd be a good time for Cage Warriors to kind of
100%
stamp, put a big stamp on. We're back. Remember us? We used to run this kind of thing. So it will be if you're listening, Dean, definitely make it happen. Make the loyal, long suffering, not really that suffering Irish fans happy.
Yeah. I think Chris Fields might fight Modestas Bukauskas for the light heavyweight title on that one as well. I don't know why.
I think if he's going to have fighters, I think I said this before in the podcast, I'm not sure, but I think if he's going to have his own, fighters from his team on the card, he probably won't. But
he has Tom King, maybe he has Carl Pinder, he has Ashing Daly. I'm saying they'd be fine, Maybe,
it's true. It's true. I think. I'd love to see Chris fight again, but maybe he'll fight somewhere else, and where his team KF guys aren't on the card. Maybe that's more likely. And if they're going to put on, this Irish card is probably, from Chris's side, probably where he wants to fight in Dublin. He probably doesn't want to fight in London, or doesn't want to fight in, anywhere else. So I don't know. It's definitely a bold prediction.
Put these guys on the undercard. Put him in the co-main event. He has 2 hours to get ready after it and be fine.
Yeah, it's a slim possibility. I suppose you have 4 options for title shots for your 3 victories, but it's definitely a bold prediction. I don't see it happening, but I'd love to see those 3 title fights or 4. 4 title fights is a bit much. Maybe you're tying up all your divisions in one event, but yeah. If you put on Paul Hughes, you put on Reese, even the both of them. You could. I think you could sell out the full 3 arena.
That's very interesting. Like to see, do they do the full arena or do they do the half arena? Like I'm very interested.
Yeah. Well, if they have the card, if they have the right card, I think you can definitely do the big one. If you don't want to make it a huge card and tie up your belts, then maybe it's going to be harder. But I think if Bellator tickets have gotten steadily more expensive. If you make the ticket pricing a little bit less, maybe you can bring a lot more people in.
I really think they need a Dublin draw as well. Like maybe Reds are coming back or Chris Fields coming back. Like all the names we mentioned there, like none of them are dubs apart from Chris Fields, obviously. So I don't think you do. I think the dubs will support any Irish or any Northern Irish. Up that dubs. Yeah. Go on out of that. And anyway,
get out of that garden.
Get up with you, boy. Right, go on. We go on to the next one. The next prediction, I don't even know what I'm predicting here, to be honest. I don't know if this exists or whatever, but here's my prediction. 2 Irish fighters win PFL European Series. Now, I don't know what that is.
See, I think they're talking about doing the series in the end of the summer. One of them, anyway. But
okay.
I don't know how long it takes. How long does it take? 2 months?
Oh God, I don't know.
3 months.
So they used to do. They did a big break at the end of the season they did last year. So they did like 3 weeks. Then they took 3 weeks off. They did another 3 weeks. Took another 3 weeks off. Did another 3 weeks, and then took like 3 months off before they did the finale, which to me was just too much. It went on for fucking like 9 months. So what you were saying, it might be over by the end of the year, is it?
Yeah, well, that's what I was hearing. But I'd say that's maybe a prediction for next year, maybe. But yeah, you never know. I suppose plans can change, or maybe plans have changed. I heard this a few months back, but they seem to be looking to sign a few Irish guys. So hopefully, these European tournaments are not set in stone yet. From what I heard, I haven't heard anything contrary to that since. But I think maybe it's probably more likely to be even possible next year. Yeah. Or the year after next, sorry.
Okay. We'll see how that goes. Right, my next 2 predictions are kind of connected, and these are bold. One of them is especially a bold prediction. So 10 and 11, Dana White leaves UFC and Joe Rogan leaves UFC commentary. So
when is Joe Rogan's contract up? I think I heard him, I don't know, maybe a year ago talking about
I think he signs like a 1-year deal at a time, but he also has like a thing in his contract. He said if Dana White leaves, he can leave too. So that's why
Dana's not going to leave. Though Dana's not going to. What's Dana going to do? Fucking slapping. I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand it, but I don't see that catching on. And I don't know. Maybe it will, but
this time last year, who was the chairman of WWE?
That's just a PR move. He's still fucking there, isn't he?
Is he? I
don't know. Actually, I have no idea, but I just assume everything in wrestling is just fucking smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. We'll see. Dana White, he's not exactly the most politically correct guy in the world. I don't think he's like, he might have. He might make a mistake.
He signed a 5-year deal, did he, when Endeavour took over, or whatever they were called at the time?
Maybe, I'm not sure. Yeah. I do think Dana White will go up in a pile of smoke at some stage and be forced out of the UFC, whether that's like them pushing him out the door or whether with them like having to push him out the door because of investors and all that, because he does something really bad or, says something really bad or something like...
Sure, he says fucking bad shit all the time and nobody even notices. Grand.
Yeah, but it only takes one thing to have to happen. Like,
I think Dana's smarter than maybe that, than that. He's smarter than maybe his foul mouth would indicate. I think maybe you're underestimating his savvy a bit there.
Yeah. I'm not, but I feel like at some stage the savvy might end, and it might be him being pushed more than him, doing something to actually be pushed. But we'll see. Right, number 12. No top 15 fighter in any division fails a USADA test. No, the reason
we're never going to know.
This is a good one.
Nobody's ever going to know about any test unless, I don't know, they decide to tell people for some reason.
Keep those secrets. Sad, I need one. I need.
Do you remember what was it that he sent a message to Nate Diaz being like, just forget about it. We'll worry about it after the fight or something.
Yeah.
And then Nate put that out being like, what the fuck, are they doing this with everybody?
Yeah, I remember Vitor as
that
well.
was fucking 3 or 4 years ago. Or
ridiculous.
even
Yeah.
more, was it?
Ridiculous. But yeah, so that's one there. We'll run through these. Conor McGregor officially retires from combat sports. Now, the word officially there.
Officially retires?
Yeah.
Like a tweet or something? Or
I'm just, you know what? I'm going to take out the word officially there, and I'm just going to go Conor McGregor retires from combat sports. I think that's 100% going to happen. Like, he could fight the week after.
To be a retirement, how long does it have to last? Does it have to last forever?
10 seconds.
Or is it...
All I want is a retirement. I don't care how long.
Conor McGregor says he retires. Maybe.
Yeah. Let me write this. Says he retires from combat sports. Grand. Yeah, I love it.
From combat sports. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes it even more bold. If it was from MMA, it'd be still unlikely. Well, it'd be still bold, but from combat sports, from boxing, from jiu-jitsu. Oof.
Yeah. No, I'm going to change that to. I'm going to change that to MMA.
Conor McGregor never to do martial arts again.
It's now Conor McGregor says he retires from MMA. Okay. Number 14. Well, actually, what do you think about Conor? I know you touched on him briefly. Do you like when do you see him coming back? I know you said the Tony Ferguson one and all that. Like,
yeah. I don't know. Like, I haven't seen him in a long time, but as soon as he feels his leg is where it should be, I'm sure he's itching to get back. And having spent a lot of years around him, he's always eager to get back and get a fight. He's always, he needs something to do. I know you mentioned earlier he did the Roadhouse movie or whatever, but that was only a month or two. That wasn't, I don't even know how long. That was only a few weeks. So that's over now, I think. So I think he'll be looking to get back, and when he gets back, he'll be looking to get fights in, stay ready, as he used to say. And a big injury like that being stuck out probably makes you kind of appreciate that, like, this is a short career that can be taken away, and you need to make it. Like if you still want to make a run at this, you need to kind of knuckle down and do it right and not rush things and all that stuff, and maybe pull out of fights when you're injured and stuff like that. So having said that, things can change. As I said, mindsets can change, all that stuff. But yeah, no, I see him coming back, and I see him trying to fight that season that he tried to fight that was derailed by COVID 2 years ago or 3 years ago at this stage.
I should have predicted Conor versus Artem as a fight for 2023. You never know. You never know. It might happen. That's
Bare Knuckle FC. Is that a combat sport? Can Conor wrangle his way out of a contract?
Yeah, you never know. If anyone can, maybe he can. Right.
Charity Bare Knuckle, is that a thing?
Jesus, charity Bare Knuckle. Imagine white collar Bare Knuckle.
Charity exhibition Bare Knuckle.
Let's fucking tearing the face of each other. Right. Number 14. Eddie Alvarez fights Michael Chandler. I'm just going to leave it at that. I said outside of the UFC, I'm going to delete that. Maybe Eddie. I don't think the UFC will sign Eddie Alvarez, but like Michael
Chandler leaving the UFC, I think.
Possibly. Like, he hasn't the greatest record. If he loses,
I know, but he's in a fucking great fights, in fairness. And
he is.
Dana White loves that shit. Maybe your other prediction of Dana White being fucking
gone,
turfed out might play into it.
You never might all work together. Fucking Brian Rebney might take over and Michael Chandler will be champion if that happens. But maybe they do sign Eddie Alvarez. If Michael Chandler pushes hard enough for the fight or whatever, they seem to want to have that fight, the two of them again. So I think it'll be fun. Let's make that happen. Number 15, Arnold Allen wins a UFC title. Now that's a bold prediction. He's right up there towards the top, but Volkanovski is there, but is he going to be there? Is he going to stay there? There's an interim title on the line as well. So I said a UFC title.
I think a lot of it being bold, I think, is, Arnold Allen's kind of another guy who, injuries and derailments have kind of held him back or slowed him down. And, he's got to the upper echelon now. And, the question is, are his skills up to these guys? If Volkanovski sticks around, that's a big ask to, go 5 rounds with Volkanovski. He's shown time and time again how much of a technician he is and how well he can implement a game plan. And, Arnold Allen's been fighting some good guys and getting some good wins, but, there's levels to this, and he's definitely improving there. So, yeah, his kind of setback record and the level of competition at the top even if Volkanovski leaves, the level of competition at the top of that division is fierce. So yeah, it's definitely a bold prediction, but I suppose he's positioned himself very nicely to take a swing at it anyway.
Indeed. Like, if he fights either of the two lads fighting for the interim title, I think he'd probably be favourite, maybe. So maybe it's not that bold, but to him to get that fight is probably the bold part. But we'll see. Number 16, Bo Nickel loses a fight.
Well, the Arnold Allen one, does it have to be a full title, yeah? It can't be like an interim title.
A title, I said.
Oh, Jesus. An interim title? Okay, Jesus. Yeah. Maybe it's not as bold. Yeah. If it was a real title,
yeah,
it could happen. I suppose you need to put some less crazy ones in there so you don't end up even worse than this year.
Oh God, I probably will. But like, the interim title could become the real title as well if Volkanovski doesn't come back down. You'd never know.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
Bo Nickel loses a fight. What do you think?
Ooh, depends on the matchmaking, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, like, you see Pat Downey there a couple of weeks ago. Like, great wrestler, got absolutely fucking destroyed.
Maybe that'll teach the UFC that they need to.
I don't think Dana White's watching the fucking Bellator undercards or something.
Yeah, well, the matchmakers like Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby, but they do have so much on their hands, and we've talked about it before, how there doesn't really seem to be much rhyme or reason. Maybe that's a time thing, or just basically in a circus, these guys are going around the fucking all over the place, all over the world, and having to do all this stuff. It is difficult, and you kind of have to make yourself stand out these days. And if Bo Nickel can do that, and maybe they'll pick and choose his fights carefully, but maybe if he goes in there and has a couple of stinkers, they might think, fuck this, we're just going to throw him in and see if he sinks or swims.
Yeah, but they might also, like, he'll have two great wins and look smashing, and then put him in there against someone like good, and he might get absolutely destroyed. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Like, so.
Yeah, it's really hard to know where he's going to go. He's a lot of questions around him. He definitely has a lot of talent, but we've seen guys that we've seen many a guy with a lot of talent and credentials outside MMA come in, and a lot of them don't stick around for very long at the top. So it's hard to know how it's going to go, and how the UFC are even going to match him, and how he's going to look against even the kind of lower tier guys in the UFC.
Mm-hmm. Right, next two predictions are similar. One is a sad one and one is a happy one. Okay, so the sad one first. Frankie Edgar returns to fight in PFL.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. We saw Marlon Rice, Frankie Edgar was cage side of PFL.
Yeah, Jesus. Ali.
Frankie Edgar versus Anthony Pettis at lightweight. Could see that happening.
Oh yeah, it's probably already a done deal. It's probably like fucking waiting to announce it. Like,
yeah, probably is. So yeah, and in the fun one at 18, Cole Conrad has an MMA fight.
Jesus. I actually read an article. Somebody.
Yeah, Chuck Mindenhall, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was going to say Chuck, but I didn't want to get it wrong. But
or maybe it was Stephen Morocco. I look it up there.
Yeah, he's still in the the white gold and milk business, but he didn't seem too motivated to come back. He talked about how he was basically just brought in as part of Brock's team, and when Brock kind of went back to other things, WWE or whatever, it just all fell apart, and he wasn't kind of arsed. So I don't know, when he was at the top of Bellator undefeated, it kind of winning easily and making money, he didn't want to do it. So I don't know if years later he's going to come back. I'd love to see Cole Conrad come back. We talked about Cole Conrad for years. He really dominant wrestler. It'd be interesting to see, but a lot of time out of the game. He hasn't been training. He's just been sitting in an office. His back is probably fucked. Sitting in those office chairs here, you'd be fucking
wrecked from it.
You'd be needing a fucking chiropractor every day. But that's a very bold prediction. I'd love to see it, but unfortunately I don't think so.
It was Sean Al-Shadi did the article, and he kind of did hint in that I wouldn't mind coming back and showing, I think it was his child that he could fight or something. So that's kind of where I got it from. So maybe we'll see with that one. Right, the last two, a fighter is stripped of a UFC title for missing weight. Now that's only happened a few times in UFC history. But there's a prediction.
They just fucking, not bother leaving the thing to settle on the scale and just flip it back to the corner.
That's true as well. That is very, very true. And the last one, similar sort of thing, but no, I actually gave this one last year, but I'm going for it again. A non-UFC fighter wins a UFC title. So someone non-UFC at the moment wins the UFC title. So I don't know who it could be. Maybe it could be Kayla. Maybe Cyborg will come back. Maybe, I don't know, Paul Hughes.
That'll be a quick ascension.
One.
You never know. Like, yeah, a PFL signing or something like that. Like, yeah, it could be, but they'd have to be fast tracked. You know, if Eddie Alvarez was to fight Chandler and beat him, former champion, he could, he fluked his way into a title shot before. Circumstances sometimes come together for you. It's a couple of, dodgy enough judge decisions and a couple of injuries, and next thing you know, you're UFC champion. That's kind of disrespectful to Eddie, but you know what I mean. It kind of fell into place nicely for him, and he took his opportunity really well. But
Eddie just catching hands around here for no reason. Like, what the fuck are you attacking Eddie for?
Yeah, that's kind of what happened, isn't it? Like, say it as it is.
Sure, look, these things happen to them. All right, sure, that's it. That's the 20 ball predictions anyway. Not a great year last year. Hopefully it'll be better for next year. Hopefully Darren Till gets cut by the time this comes out. And we have 2.5 months, but I'm only joking. So yeah, let us know. Tweet us at SevereMMA, at SevereMMA at Jon GMBA. Let us know your ball prediction for the year. And actually, we did this last year, so I'll ask people on Twitter, and we might do a Patreon show out of it, go through and kind of rate people's ball predictions. So look out for that over on Twitter. So yeah, we will leave it there. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you for all the fighters. Thank you, Graeme. Thank you to all the SevereMMA crew, all the Patreon crew, patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast, NordVPN/SevereMMA. NordVPN.com/SevereMMA, and Manscaped. Use the promo code SevereMMA as well. That's it from us. Sean Sheehan, Graeme McDonald, SevereMMA. We'll see you all next time. Good luck.